I am a Conscious Life mentor. And you know what? I'm just so thrilled to be a part of the Living Consciously TV show. To me, what it's all about is getting the message about self-awareness, about consciousness, about really creating a life that we love. And it is so totally possible, and I'm just so thrilled to be a part of this, to be sharing with the other experts who are on the show, and to be sharing with all the viewers, the audience that's out there. So that's me. I'm just so thrilled to be a part of it, and I really look forward to seeing you on the Living Consciously TV shows.
Welcome to the Living Consciously television show. I'm your host, Coach Steve Toth. I'm also your moderator. And our theme today is how to find a job in a shrinking job market as well as in a troubled economy. And we're going to have a specific focus on youth just getting out of our colleges. Let me introduce you to our guests in our expert career panel. Our guest today is Michelle Ricklin. She's a human resources and career management consultant, and she is joining us from New Jersey. Welcome to the show, Michelle.
Thanks, Steve. Nice to be here.
Awesome. And we also have next to her on the bottom left, Helen Kerrison. She is a self-growth expert as well as a career consultant, and she is joining us from the beautiful country of Belgium in Europe. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve. Great to be here.
Awesome. And then right above Helen, we have Alicia Kramer. And Alicia Kramer is a self-growth expert as well. And she's very much into the youth. And she's joining us from Wisconsin. Welcome to the show, Alicia.
Hi. It's nice to be here.
Nice to have you. And next to Alicia, we have Nina De Verderosa. She's a self-growth expert, as well as she's very much into youth as well. You're going to find out about that on the show. And she's joining us from Los Angeles. Welcome to the show, Nina.
Hi, everybody. It's great to be with the team again.
Awesome. So let me just go over how the show will go in the next 55 minutes or so. We're going to have 3 segments. And the first segment is going to be about what is the Living Consciously TV show is really all about. And we're going to be hearing from every one of our expert panel members from their point of view. And then the second segment will be about what are the issues and the problems that our youth face after graduating colleges and to get a job? And I'm sure that we're going to be helping a lot of other people as well, not just the youth, because we're going to be talking about some general things as well, not just specific to youth. And the third segment, we're going to be talking about what are the solutions to those issues and problems that we covered in the second segment. So let's begin the show. And so the first question that I have is, of course, is for our guest, Michelle. Could you tell us a little bit about what the top 3 issues and problems that you have found with the youth today whom are just graduating?
Well, I believe that they're first coming into the work, they're first graduating, and their toolkit is not full. They don't have the skills to actually go out and look for a job in the first place. So I think that there's a lot of preparation that was not done over the course of the 4 years of being at the university that could have prepared them better to actually go out and look for a job. So I'd say an empty tool belt, so to speak. I'd say then they start with the wrong materials. They don't realize that when they're looking for a position, they are a product, and they need to market that product and package that product effectively. And the marketing tools that they need are their resume, their cover letter, their LinkedIn profile, and they need to be consistent. They need to brand themselves, and those materials really need to be solid and compelling and different and unique. And they don't know how to go about that. And then I think that another real issue is that the media is doing this generation a real disservice. Yes, it is a very, very difficult job market, but even there are a lot of reports about how statistically there are a lot more jobs right now for the entry-level college grad. The trick is that the aggressive are the ones who are getting it, the people who are strategic, the people who are really the go-getters. And a lot of people coming out, and the parents even, they hear, oh, it's such a tough job market, nobody's getting jobs, and so they very conveniently move home and become a little enabled, and they're not so motivated to actually get out there and do what they have to do and meet the people that they need to meet in order to get the job that they want to get.
Great, thanks, Michelle. Well, I'd like to turn to Alicia for a second, because I know Alicia is very much into young people in her practice. From your perspective, Alicia, could you share with our viewers and our expert panel, what are you finding out there in terms of what are these young people up against?
Well, nobody, I shouldn't say nobody, but a mass majority, I think, of our younger generation are not really nurtured and taught to be very honest with themselves about the direction that's right for them. And I totally agree with Michelle. We're not teaching them how to be out there, to market themselves, to be authentic, to be conscious, to be congruent with what their goals are. So we're kind of throwing them to the wolves, just letting them fend for themselves. And if we start preparing them at a younger age, they're going to get into probably a better career, unlike many of us that have gone down the wrong path and been in a soul-sucking job and had to learn through the school of hard knocks what to do to course correct.
Very interesting. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let me turn back to Michelle for a second, because something just come up for me. How does a potential employee can actually tell when they are speaking with a candidate that they are not really just there for the paycheck?
I'm sorry, that they're not really just there for the paycheck.
Right. Like what else is there?
Well, I think that depending on what that person has in their background, we can ascertain what their passions are. So if they're going into something and you can kind of look at what they've done throughout the course of those 4 years, things that they've been involved in, and you can get a better sense of the things that they're really interested in, the coursework that they've taken, the community involvement, the courses that they've done, and see if that aligns with the type of job that they're actually applying for. A lot of them, though, are applying for jobs just for the paycheck, and that's not necessarily a bad thing either, as long as they understand that having a job, it may not be the ideal job right off the bat, but it may be a job that's a stepping stone to something else, or it may be a job, maybe it's not the right position, but it puts you into a company and it gets you connected to the right people that can propel you forward.
Awesome. Thank you, Michelle. I'd like to turn to Helen for a second, because Helen has a huge background in career consulting. And what I'm really looking for is, I know from my personal experience that corporations really focus in on these days about corporate values and core values. How does a potential candidate can position themselves, or do they, that they understand what the company's core values are and what also their corporate values?
That's an interesting question, because you can go onto companies' websites and you can investigate, and you can generally get an idea of what they want you to think about the company from their mission statements, from their corporate responsibility, the work they do regarding corporate responsibility, and so on. And there are some companies out there that are doing more than others. There are also, from my experience, there are a lot of companies that pay that sort of thing lip service. You can find out superficially what the level of responsibility, what the level of engagement is from companies, but it's not really until you work in the company that you can experience that yourself. That's often how it happens. However, a lot of graduates now, young people, are looking for companies who have a social conscience, who are connected, who care. So companies are well aware of that.
Great, thank you, Helen. Ninon, I know that you very much love and support young people, and I'm curious about, how do you think young people these days can actually show that they care?
Well, I think we're kind of misunderstanding our younger generation. I don't think we're giving them enough credit for really whom they are and what they are. And rather than what we keep doing is putting them down, I think we really need to build them up. We're always saying, they have no manners and they're this and they're that and they're everything. And they're not. They're wonderful. I think it really starts a little bit back from high school. High school, I think you need to really explain to them what college is, because a lot of them go into college and think it's some big playground, and it's not. It's 4 years of no parties, and it's 4 years of really knuckling down and learning something that you want to be or do, or what you think you want to do. You need to go into college. College is a thing that you pay for regardless. And there is a bill at the end of it. And unfortunately, a lot of these young that bill at the end. So before they go into all these jobs and what they do, they have $100,000, $200,000 bill to start out with, some a little less. So going into something like that. And also, I want to go back onto the subject where we were talking about, are they going into the job for money, or are they going into it because they like it? It's mandatory, well, not mandatory, but if you don't do volunteer work in high school, you're kind of on the bottom of the list of going into college, because they look at that as one of the main things you do is volunteer work. So now you're in college and you're also doing volunteer work. So I think when they come out to the community to actually go out there and get a job, they want to earn money. They feel they're establishing themselves by at last they're making money. They've spent these 24 years or 20 years at least of not making any money, or a little bit of money. And so I think they're encouraged with that, but also I think they're very much aware of what's going on in this community, or whichever community they're in, or whatever job they're going into. I think they're very much aware of that. I don't think we should keep underestimating our younger generation. They are brilliant. They're far more brilliant than I was at their age, because they have the tools and they have a lot of stuff to help them. But I think they really need encouragement from the community, and also they definitely need encouragement from their family, as that this is not a playground, that they have to, there's a lot of schools out there, universities, that really they party all the time, and then it comes to graduate and get a job, and they're kind of not prepared for it. And I know many of them in that way.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Ninon. Back to Michelle. Michelle, how important is it, and what are the issues and problems with resumes and the interview process?
There are a lot of issues. I think that, and I can't speak for all of the career services departments, but I do come across quite a few, more than quite a few, college graduate resumes, and they really are boilerplate and template, and in very old style, certainly not unique, without personality. And I think that that's one of one of the main issues, that again, it is a marketing tool, and that marketing tool must really reflect the personality, the experience, and the drive of the person that is using it. I take issue with, and it's people debate this issue, but the concept of using an objective. I do not use objectives even for my entry-level college graduates. I always use a profile or a hard-hitting summary statement. And the reason that I do that is because, again, with this job market, it is really employer's choice. They get to pick who are the top, who are the best, and it's all about the employer. So an objective is very applicant-centric. It's all me, I want. And the better strategy is to say, here's who I am, here's what value I offer, and here's what I can contribute to your organization by putting together a profile or a summary that something, again, that makes you unique. It's part of your packaging. And that then an employer will take a look at that and say, okay, well, here's somebody that actually, can have synergy with our organization. Here's somebody that we can have fit in. So that's one of the main issues that I see going forward. And I think still that many kids coming out, that career services are teaching them, the first thing that you do is you put an objective, and then but you have a wide left margin with experience, and it's really old school. It's not innovative. It's not cutting edge. It's not unique, and it definitely doesn't serve them well. And then unfortunately, they get very, very frustrated when they'll say to somebody such as me or to my colleagues who are also resume writers or career coaches, and they say, oh, well, can you take a look at my resume? And this is a resume that they worked on in a class in school, or they worked on with their career services or career counselor, and within the career services department. And we say, this isn't going to work for you. This is not going to put you on the top of the pile. And that's what the goal is really to get them seen and to get them on the top. Let them look at it and say, this looks interesting. Now I'm going to read it.
Right. So am I hearing that? Let's put this into more of a practical example. So, if I was the corporate department head and I released a job, and I'm looking for candidates, and I get 400 responses within the first few days, what am I going to be looking for in terms of how I'm going to weed out the people that I don't want to talk to? How does that occur today in corporate America?
You're saying as if you're sitting with a whole stack of resumes?
Right. What am I going to do?
And
am I going to read all 400 of them in detail? Probably not.
You'd probably go and hire yourself a consultant.
I think you're going to pick the ones that you want to see, not the ones you don't want to see. That might be easier.
Okay, and how would I pick those?
By what you want.
A lot of them are going to end right up in the trash can. I know that when I was a corporate recruiter and I would have a stack, the first thing I would do is I'd sift through, and whatever I felt was most attractive, that's what I pulled out first. So is it easy to read? I am now in that bracket of I need my reading glasses, and if I have to pull them on to read your resume, I'm not going to bother. The font is too small, or I can't find your contact information easily, or it's in a format that's very difficult on the eye or not aesthetically pleasing. That goes to the side first. The ones that stand out and are interesting looking, those go to my other pile. Mm-hmm. And then from there, I look to see what has the most appropriate content. So I am very much an advocate of an attractive resume is going to is really going to put that on the top of the pile. And again, that doesn't mean that all attractive resumes are going to have the right content, and then they will also end up in the trash can. But it's definitely a good starting point for it to be something that somebody wants to look at.
A quick question for you: Would you take somebody that has either typed it out or written it out? Which one would you prefer? A handwritten one? Would you look at more, or a typed out one that's more eligible?
A handwritten resume?
Yes. Or a typed out resume. Which one would you look at first and keep?
If it was handwritten, I'd throw it in the garbage. I don't think I've ever seen a handwritten resume, to be honest.
I haven't either.
Oh, well, it's definitely modern times then.
If it was typed, and if it was typed out in Courier or looked like it was typewriter type, that would also end up in my garbage can.
So it's really, it's very, very practical, very pragmatic criteria that are the most important, at least to begin with, to get yourself in that right pile, and then it's content.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. This next question I have is really for any one of you that wants to answer it, or maybe there are multiples of you that would like to answer it. So I'm curious about: do you think that young people today actually look at the company that they are applying to, if that company is actually doing something good in the world, and they have a preference to work for companies that are actually doing something good in the world versus something bad? Do you think young people are thinking about that?
Yes, I think they are. They definitely were. I mean, before the economy was so tight, definitely that was a criteria. They were looking for companies who were worth their salt, if you like. They valued responsibility, being responsible in employers. Now, Michelle, you'd know better than me now whether that's still the case. I've sort of been out of the direct sort of career recruitment business for a little while. But it was definitely the case a few years back. What's your idea, Michelle? What do you think?
I think it's a mixed population. I think that the population that really is on board with getting a great job, yes, they're looking at the types of companies that suit them best, that suit what their own value system is, and how they align with what they're looking to do. And then they would turn around, they would do their homework on that company, and they would find an angle when writing into that company, whether it's through their cover letter or the people that they're networking with or linking in with, and they would find a way to say, I understand that you do this, this, and this, and these are things that really match well with what my career goals are. So I think that there's a population very much so that does that. But then there's also a population that doesn't understand the value of actually doing the research of the company in the first place. Yeah. So it's really a mix.
I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I also think they gravitate to where they feel more comfortable. It's where they're feeling comfortable, and a lot of them like to do a lot of traveling now. So you see a lot of them seeing these jobs where they can travel, and I think you're absolutely right, Michelle. They try to write into it, whether they're qualified or not, but they try to write into it of what they think this company is looking for. And sometimes that could be a little bit of a mistake because they're going to be asked questions and then they can't answer those questions. So I think with what you do and putting it in the resume of being a little bit more clear to who they are and what they can sort of reach out to, I think it's, I agree.
Right, great. Let's talk a little bit about the problems and issues with the interview process. Michelle?
Well, as far as the interview process is concerned, I mean, ideally, a person comes in with the right marketing tools, dressed appropriately, which still amazes me, doesn't happen in a lot of cases where people are just not dressed for success. They come in either with a 5 o'clock shadow or with half their nails polished, half their nails not, or a tight skirt, or a low cut blouse, or whatever it is. they need, and part of that also goes back to the research piece. They have to understand the culture of the company. They need to do the homework in advance. Who is it that they're meeting with? And what is the culture? Is it a casual company? Is it a conservative company? And even then, you still need to make decisions that you're going to err on the side of, if it is casual, then it should be business casual, and that doesn't mean coming in sandals and sandals and a little skirt. So that's still an issue. And the homework part in advance, things like, well, who are you meeting with? Who is the person that you're meeting with? How do you pronounce their name? One of my big pet peeves. Find out beforehand, so that when you go to shake that person's hand, you can pronounce it correctly. And that really is just a phone call before your interview time to whomever might answer the phone, the receptionist, and say, I have a meeting with so-and-so. Can you please let me know that I'm pronouncing it correctly? Find out who they are, what they do, where they belong in the organization, so that you have a good sense. And again, the position that you're coming in for. What are the circumstances? Are you coming in to replace somebody that was let go? Why? Is it a new position? Well, what wonderful things are happening in the company, that the company is expanding, and now there's a new place and a new spot. Doing that homework, I think, is really, really important for the interview. And again, and being prepared. And I even say this on the phone interviews too. If you're having a phone interview, get up, get dressed, and feel professional about yourself when you're having that interview, so that you're really, you're really on your mark when you're speaking with the person who's a potential employer.
Confidence. Coming in with confidence. When I was managing the cell phone store that I worked for quite a few years, there was a huge difference between individuals that would come in unprepared, come in not dressed for sick, really just kind of not in the right place, is a big no-no. If you're not serious, you're wasting somebody's time, and you're off to a bad start right there. And then having that confidence, being prepared, being confident that you are a good fit. Even if you're a little nervous, that's okay. But confidence is definitely a big part of nailing that interview.
What about being authentic? Is that a problem for people to be authentic?
I didn't catch all of your question. You cut out.
Okay, let me repeat that. So I was asking, is it a problem for people to be authentic in an interview?
I think it's a good thing for people to be authentic. You don't have to, if you're the type of person that maybe is a little rough around the edges at time, and that's part of your authenticity, well, with it, but being your authentic self is very magnetic, and it's very attractive. And what better way to win over your potential employer than to be absolutely charismatic and just let yourself shine?
Fantastic. Let's get back to Michelle for a second, and I'll come back to you, Ninan. Just real quickly, about after the interview process, what are the issues and problems with that final phase when people are sitting around the phone waiting for the phone to ring?
Well, some of the issues. Well, first let me just share a little secret about when the interview is over. One of the things that I tell my clients, and that most people don't think of, particularly living in a suburban area, is I always tell my clients that if you are driving to your interview, obviously some interviews you're taking a subway, you're taking a train, but if you're driving to your interview, make sure that your car is clean. Because often an interviewer will say, let me walk you to your car. And the reason that they do that is to see how you organize yourself, and to see it's a good indication, just one of my little secrets, it's a good indication of how that person will manage their desk if they keep a mess in their car. So that's the first one. As soon as that interview is over, I always tell people if they're going on an interview and they're driving to it, make sure your car is clean. Now you're sitting around, you're waiting for that call. I very much advise all of my clients to make sure that whatever contact information you have given that employer, there should be one phone number. That phone number should be yours and yours alone. It shouldn't be that they get an answering machine that says, Wendy and Sissy and Fluffy aren't available right now. It shouldn't have anything that indicates anything too personal. It should just be you with a professional greeting, not "Hey, what's up?" Or a friend answering it saying, Jack's not here right now, but just you and a professional voice. And answer the phone. Or don't answer the phone if you're in the supermarket, if you're hanging out, at a noisy party. But if you're on job, if you're in interview mode, be aware that somebody is calling, that somebody may be calling you, and then you need to make sure that if you're taking that call, that you can take it in a place that you can have a professional conversation. And even though you may get anxious, you see that the phone number pops up and it's XYZ Corporation and you're excited about it, wait. If you're not in a place where you can actually have a professional conversation, better to call them back. You're not going to miss the opportunity by calling them back in 15 minutes.
Great. What about, this just reminded me of social media. What about what you have on Facebook and what your friends are saying on Facebook? Do employers actually checking it?
They do. They absolutely do. And this is another one of the nice debates that we'll have with a lot of the high school going into college coming out of college kids, that once you've got something really stupid up on Facebook, it's permanent. It's permanent. And if someone really wants to find it, they can find it. So is it okay? It's a great medium for keeping in touch with your friends. I'm going to the baseball game tonight, but it is not an appropriate place for, I woke up with such a hangover. It's really, you really need to be careful, and also keeping in mind that it's nobody's business. There is still a separation of your business life and your personal life, and to understand that there are certain things of your personal life that just don't belong in the office, and you don't need to bring it into the office yourself. But
right.
Absolutely, employers will look, and it's funny, but employers will even say, in an interview, they'll look on the person's Facebook file to see, profile rather, to see what they were doing the night before. And if they see on that profile that this candidate who's coming in and meeting them at 10 o'clock was out till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, well, that person just killed the interview, because they get in and they say, well, they didn't really take this interview very seriously if they were out till 2 o'clock a.m.
Interesting. Well, back to Ninan, and I think we're ready to switch now to what the solutions are to all these issues and problems. So Ninan, what would you like to share with our viewers from your perspective in terms of what the youth could do to improve their chances?
I think it's very, very important. Never mind the youth, I think this applies to everybody. As soon as you walk into that door and you're facing somebody, the first impression they get is when you walk into that door, how you walk into that door, what you look like. And if you don't look appropriate to wherever you may be or wherever you're going, you are going to be criticized, whether it's a party, you're not dressed appropriately, or whether you're going for a job. It's the same thing. It is how people perceive you in that split second. Unfortunately, we are all judged, when we first see each other or we're in an interview. But I think these young people really do need guidance as to how they dress. I have a talk show, which you all know about, And I had some young girls on and a couple of boys, and they were dressed with these funny looking clothes, really short and low cut and all this crazy stuff. And I asked them, I said, are you dressing for yourself or for the boys? And they said, they're dressing for themselves. And I said, yeah, but you're kind of giving a message to these guys that you're kind of available and you're out there. And they disagreed with that. But it truly is the impression, the first impression you give to anybody, especially the younger generation. And to be happy to go in with the feeling of, I want this job. And also that first person you meet, whomever that may be, it could be the secretary, that secretary could be the daughter of the owner of the company. So you've got to be very careful who you meet as you walk into that company. That first person you meet has got to like you. So as soon as you walk in, they must like you, and you must like them. And you do understand that when you go into a meeting, anybody's meeting. But the young generation need to understand that when they walk into that front door, they've got to be perky and nice if they want the job. And as you say, to dress properly.
Yeah, and you know what? I think it's about taking responsibility for that. You know, as a person, it's saying, okay, I'm responsible for myself. I'm responsible for how I dress. I'm responsible for that impression that I'm going to give, and for taking that well and truly on board. You know, it's nobody else's job that. You know, it's nobody else's responsibility if, you know, things don't go the way you want them to go. It really is like saying, you know, okay, this is me, and I need to be me, and I'm responsible for me, and then, you know, then the doors will open. They may not open the way you expect them to, but they will, because that's part of being authentic. You know,
well, that depends how. Depending how you're dressed is what door will open and what door will close. Unfortunately,
very likely. You need to be aware of these things, and when you are aware of them, you need to say, okay, well, you know, I want a job in this corporate world, and so I take responsibility, for doing what is necessary for me to secure that.
Fantastic. Back to Michelle. Michelle, I can't wait to know, hear, and see what this awesome resume looks like.
Okay.
which one and whose?
The one that's going to end up on the pile on my left, not with the pile that's going to the trash.
Okay. I have lots and lots of resumes. I'm not sure which one you'd like.
Well, just describe one that's a winner.
Just describe it. What's a winner?
What does it look like?
You know, it depends. It really depends on the industry. It depends on the personality of the person. I did a resume last year for a competition. Where I won an international award. It was for and I won third place in a creative resume, and it was for a teacher, and we used color, we used graphs, we used clip art. It was a fun resume. For that industry, it worked very well. Again, that would not necessarily work in the finance world. I just did a resume for somebody who is in hospitality and club management. And we decided to take a major risk, and we created a resume that was actually in the shape of a golf ball. And we had his core competencies going around the golf ball, and we had a header that said, you know, for a hole-in-one, call, and we had his name and all of his contact information. So it was it was different. It was definitely different. And it got noticed. But again, that's not going to work necessarily for the head of sales for Motorola.
Got it.
So for somebody like that, I like to, if I'm working on a sales and marketing resume, any information that they can give me, I like to put in graphs, which is really kind of relatively new to the resume world. But anywhere that I can show supportive information in a very easy snapshot that's attractive, I do that. So I use graphs, I use bars, I use charts, and I'll input that kind of information and make it very aesthetically pleasing and easy to navigate. And then, again, depending on the industry, I have some very conservative resumes, but always with the focus of being able to clearly see who the person is right up front. This is who they are. So I always start with very clear contact information, a header, a profile or a summary of who that person is and what they have to offer. And on the executive level right now, what is also very important is a core competency section, so that you have something that gives quick little bites of here are the skills that this person offers, and it's also really useful for applicant tracking systems as well.
So would you say that the people are getting, or the message to our audience out there in the younger generation who we are addressing, would you sort of recommend them to get more creative and not to be a little bit going on that just 1, 2, 3, this is who I am, and just get a little bit more creative without going overboard, but getting more creative? Would that be a good message for them?
Well, two things. I'd say when we say creative, one part would be we don't want a laundry list of tasks. We don't want something that says, I did this and I did that, or just bullets of, just things that are not results oriented. So I always work with people on accomplishments. We want to see as many accomplishments as possible. And I use the formula of challenge, action, and result. Show me, what were you challenged to do? What action did you take? How did you do it? How did you do it? What did you actually do? And then what was the positive end result for your employer? And then that becomes more of the story. And I use that because generally what we have when I work with the younger generation is just a list, not even just the younger generation, but a list of tasks. And that's not, anybody can cut and paste that and stick that on their resume. That's not what we need. We need things that are unique and show how you impacted your employer. Then on the other side of being creative, I like creative. I like something that catches my eye. So, for example, I did a resume for a college student who was looking for her first job, and she very, very specifically was looking for a marketing job at Victoria's Secrets. Well, we did a pink resume. And it was all outlined in pink, and we had a watermark that had the pink ribbon in the background, and because that kind of went along with what they were messaging, and she got that position. It caught their eye. Now again, that's the type of thing that would have to be altered, obviously, because that only works for a specific company. But that's okay. You can do that. You can tailor it.
Awesome. Awesome. Back to Alicia real quick, because we're getting to the end of the show here very rapidly. Back to Alicia. So how would you recommend, what would you say to people that are getting ready to go to an interview, how to connect their mind, body, and soul?
Mindset is huge for everything in life. And if you go in with the wrong mindset, you can shut yourself down instantaneously. So my recommendation, especially in this situation where it is, this is a tough time because there's a lot of competition in the job force. So whether you're a young person or you are, have been established in your career for a long time and now you're thrown back out into the workforce, we really want to work on getting you mentally and emotionally prepared for the job that you're applying for. And you can use visualization techniques. You can really learn as much about, your core competencies and get really good at selling yourself, and not in a salesy way, but in a very confident and authentic way, because that is the key to being recognized as a very powerful, very independent, motivated, and self-disciplined person.
Thank you.
Which is exactly what they're looking for right now.
Awesome. Thank you, Alicia. I just realized that I jumped right into our second segment, and I completely missed the first segment. So guess what? We're going to make it up. So in our third segment, we're gonna go around and tell our viewers about what it is that attracted us to the Living Consciously TV show and what it is about and what it is that we are really creating here. Ninon?
I think what we were creating is the humanity of this world and not being afraid of who you are or disagreeing with somebody that says something. You don't always have to agree. It's not always about money, and it's living. We're living 24 hours a day, and my big belief is try to live the day, try to be out there and be conscious, and also to be conscious of other people, of how they feel when you say something. You can say the same thing in different tones, and you can upset them, or you can just be nothing, or you can make them excited and happy. And I think being aware of other people out there and being conscious of who they are, and also I think really more than important is to be conscious of yourself, who you are, what you're doing, and what you're doing out there, and what is your purpose in life. What are we all here for? What are we all just running around doing? Let's have a purpose, and let's try to be something and do something, and maybe try to enhance somebody else's life by helping them in the way that it helped you and to help them.
Awesome. Helen?
I agree.
You could say the same thing.
Okay.
But it's about reconnecting. So many of us are disconnected from who we really are, and that's the work I do. It's to help people reconnect with themselves, with their passions, with their purpose, with what they're here to do, with who they really are on the inside, rather than who they should be or who other people think they should be or what they need to do to conform. Is really to have that inner connection, and with that comes the confidence. You know who you are, you know who you're not as much as anything, and that allows you to be yourself. And when you're yourself, you connect so much easier with other people.
Absolutely.
It becomes easy, it becomes effortless, and that to me is what living consciously is all about.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Helen. What about you, Alicia?
Well, yes, and yes to everything that's been said. It is. It's about awakening our true selves, which is really quite beautiful and quite magnificent, and often overshadowed by our conditioning, unfortunately. And as we develop ourselves and become aware of who we are and stop trying to be something that we're not, we are able to reach people in a very powerful and profound way. And I believe that the more of us that put ourselves out there and make ourselves vulnerable and say, hey, I'm doing this, you can do it too, we're shifting and changing the collective consciousness, and hopefully some of the negative things that have been going on in the world will begin to shift as we all really connect with how beautiful we truly are when we get rid of the fear and we get rid of the limitation and we get rid of the negativity, and we really accept who we are as people, and accept that we're all unique and we're all different, and we're willing to accept each other for those uniqueness and differences.
Fantastic.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Alicia. So for me, this is a vision that I've had for many years, and it's really unfolding in front of our eyes right now and in front of my eyes. And I am very excited because for the first time ever, I think we're able to do something on television where people can tell the difference in terms of what the general television and media and magazines have been doing for years, which is really doing a good job of creating confusion, manipulation, fear, and force in people's minds. And what we are attempting to do here is the opposite of that, which is to create clarity. And the way we get to clarity, I believe, is to connect to ourselves and connect to each other and to be able to stay ahead of it so that we are not creating this present moment from our past or from our future. We actually get to be in the moment, and that's a beautiful thing. And I feel that we accomplished that definitely on today's show.
We have. Beautiful.
Okay. So is there anything else that our gracious guest would like to share with anybody? We got maybe a minute.
Thank you so much.
You were a lot of fun to be with, and I think we had a fantastic show. And we're actually, this is all the time we have for today. So many thanks to all of our viewers, as well as our guest, Michelle, and our cast. as well as Anne behind the window there. She's our technical producer, and she's been doing an awesome job today. And also, I want to remind everybody, don't forget to go to our website at www.livingconsciously.tv and vote for all of our shows. The more you vote, the more our shows are being played on channel 56, 57, and 219. Other than that, thanks for watching, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Hi, this is Helen Kerrison, and I am a Conscious Life mentor. And you know what? I'm just so thrilled to be a part of the Living Consciously TV show. To me, what it's all about is getting the message about self-awareness, about consciousness, about really creating a life that we love. And it is so totally possible, and I'm just so thrilled to be a part of this, to be sharing with the other experts who are on the show, and to be sharing with all the viewers, the audience that's out there. So that's me. I'm just so thrilled to be a part of it, and I really look forward to seeing you on the Living Consciously TV shows.